As a judge indicates today that he'll likely order the release of portions of the affidavit that justified the search at former President Trump's home, there is another way we may learn more about the search, and not just words on a document. Donald Trump himself is reportedly considering releasing surveillance footage of FBI agents searching his Mar-a-Lago home. And that would be a risky move. The former president's attorney told Real American Voices that Mr. Trump and his family have watched the tapes.
They had the CCTV that they were able to watch. They were actually able to see the whole thing, so they actually have a better idea of what took place inside.
Trump's team claims the FBI told them to turn off surveillance cameras inside Mar-a-Lago and that they refused.
And you know for a fact they asked for the cameras to be turned off.
They asked for the cameras to be turned off.
Wow.
CNN is reporting that the idea of releasing it has drawn a mixed reaction inside the former president's orbit. On the one hand, it's obvious that this saga has benefited Trump politically, and some in his inner circle are discussing the idea of featuring the footage in campaign-style ads to bolster Trump's claim of political persecution. Others warn of the potential risks by providing the public a visual understanding of the amount of materials that federal agents seized. And, of course, if the entire tape was released, it could debunk some of the evidence-free claims that the FBI planted evidence. Eric Trump suggesting on Fox News that they will release it at some point.
You still have the surveillance tape, is that correct? Are you allowed to share that with the country?
Absolutely, Sean, at the right time.
Now, I'm inclined to think they will release parts, but not all of it. But I really don't know what I think he will or should do, so let me ask someone who may have a better sense than I. Joining me now is Susan Ferrechio, a national correspondent for The Washington Times, who is in Florida and has been covering the developments extensively. All right, Susan, so what happens now?
Well, right now, all we can wait for is, when it comes to these surveillance tapes, the right timing for President Trump to release them. They suggested they would do so, but what we don't understand is, to what benefit would that be to President Trump? You can be sure that whatever he releases would have to add to the viewpoint that he has been politically targeted. He's not going to release just randomly all the video at once. I think it will be timed, as you suggested, maybe to a campaign announcement or some other moment that's important to him, and it will be edited. And because it's going to be a long tape, and if you want to have impact, everything needs to be edited in a certain way. And I think you'll see snippets of things that demonstrate that the president feels he's been politically targeted. Whatever can show the drama of his home being raided by the FBI, which is, we know, unprecedented, coupled with his repeated assertions that this is unwarranted, that they could have come and taken the documents simply by asking, and that he is being politically targeted again by the deep state. So I think the video will be tailored to that point. The question is when and how will he present it?
Susan, I've heard some people say, well, if he only releases portions of the tape, then people are going to ask questions. They're going to say, what happened to the rest of the tape? I've got to believe he's not going to care, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, how long were they there for? Hours pulling boxes. The idea that evidence was planted, I think by now, if there were video of that, we'd probably be hearing from the president on that, the former president. But it is dramatic that they came and took things and were rifling through Melania Trump's closet. Don't forget that part. It's just so unseemly, the idea that a former president has his home raided over basically a public records dispute with the National Archives.
Well, look, I got to tell you, my initial response was this better not be a public dispute with the National Archives. I made it very clear, if this is a public dispute with the National Archives, I'll be very critical. The search warrant itself suggests this is more than a fight with the National Archives. It's not even
Where in the search warrant, Dan? I don't see that. There's nothing about classified material. There's nothing about nuclear material.
I didn't say anything about nuclear material, but there's absolutely stuff about classified material there. I mean, it specifically says the words classified, top secret. You can challenge it, and you can have questions, as I do, about it, but that's what the search warrant says.
But the justification for the warrant doesn't name that. The three statutes that they claim the president has violated don't mention classified material at all. They mention public records. And that's why I think That's what the dispute is
No,
over.
it doesn't. No. It doesn't have to be classified records. It doesn't mean that they're not classified records. Just because the 3 statutes don't specifically state that they must be classified doesn't mean when we see that they've removed items that say classified that they weren't classified. But look, I have the same questions that you do about the reasoning for going in. I'm not suggesting, and therefore Donald Trump is guilty. I have no idea. I want to know. I want to see more of the affidavit. I still have a lot of questions. But this is a very interesting question, this one you and I are discussing, about the strategy behind Donald Trump releasing the video. And I agree with you on how, when, and why he'll do it. Final thought?
But Dan, he's not the only one with a strategy. I mean, the government has a strategy too.
Absolutely.
Here. They feel they're clearly uncomfortable with the way things have been developing. There's been a backlash. They want to show that this is not over nothing, that this is important, that they went in there and took these materials. They have a reason for doing so, and the affidavit will be redacted in a way that will probably prevent us from understanding what really led up to this.
Yeah, I think it may.
Information.
I think it may.
Right, that triggered the right. They're spinning their side as well. So the president is looking at it that way and saying, well, how do I get my message out in a way that relays my view that I'm politically targeted? And you have to try to sift through all that to get to what the truth really is.
And hopefully we'll learn more about the truth, which is why I've been advocating for more of that affidavit to be released. Susan, thanks so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.